Hi friends, we welcome you back to Physique Fashion House Studio. My name is Fola. We appreciate as many that has been subscribing to this channel. And if you are yet to subscribe, do well to subscribe today. Thank you. Today, we'll be learning how to make one trendy female vintage shirt with a notched collar. The one we are making today is not the one with that. It's a free one. We'll be using this Italian silk satin. I have here with me 1.5 years. So you are good to go with 2 years. Make use of 2 years because I'm using 1.5 years there, but I'll be making short sleeve with it. So if you like to make a long sleeve with it, it's better you have 2 years of this. So I've come with the pattern. This is the back pattern. So the back pattern is basically back basic bodice. So let's quickly take care of the back first before we move on to the business of today, because it is the front you really need to know a lot of things there. The length I'm using, the length of my shirt will be 24 inches. So I have half of an inch as my hem allowance down here, and I have half inch as my joining allowance at the shoulder line. Let me just go through the horizontal measurements for you. For the shoulder we are working with is 15. I divide it by 2. We have 7.5. That is what I have here. I have 7.5 here. This one you are seeing here is my seam allowance that I later added. The bust we are working with is a 38. So that 38, for the fact that the top we are making is free one, we don't want it fitted. So that is why I added 6 inches. You are good to add just 2 or 4 to hit, but for me I want it to be very free. That is why I added that 6 inches. So when I add 6 inches to 38 inches, which is the original bust, it gives us 44. So that 44 is what I measure here. I divide 44 into 4. I have 11 inches. That's what I'm having here. So from there I get half inch seam allowance. The same thing happened in the waist region. This is the waist region, 17 inches. The waist we are working with is 34. I added 6 as well. I told you can add just 2 or 4. So I added 6 inches plus 40. So 40 divided by 4 give me 10. In my waist I have 10 inches and I added half inch seam allowance. So for the hip part, my hip is 44. I added just 4 inches in the hip region. So you are good to add 2 or 6 as we said earlier. So 4 plus 44 making 48. So I divided by 4, give me 12 inches. Then I add half an inch seam allowance. And for the line, back neckline, I use 3 inches by 1.25. That is what I use. You are good to use 1.5 or 1 inch for the depth of your back neckline. So, and this you are seeing here is a seam allowance, and I use shoulder slope of 1 inch. I come down my shoulder with 1 inch and I connect it. So for the armhole curve, I connect my armhole curve. I connect it straight to my measurements, so which is 11 inches. So I connected it then before the half an inch is added as a seam allowance. And for the center back, we are not shaping anything in this style. That is why this center back you are seeing is going to be on fold. By the time we are cutting our fabric, it's going to be on fold. We are not shaping anything in our back. This is a free sheet. So that is for the back. So we want to move straight to the front cut, which is the major part of today's video. Now we want to go ahead and move on to the front pattern of our female vintage shirt with a notched collar. So, and to achieve that, I've come with a basic bodice pattern for the front cut. So I want you to know that the same thing is repeated in the front. For you to know, I'll just place this on the front cut now. This is it. You can see that we have exactly the same thing. Aside the armhole line, you know, the armhole line of the front cut normally coming than that of the back. That is what we are having here. And I've now added the seam allowance at the shoulder line for this front. That's basically the difference between the front cut and the back cut. So let's just move straight to the business of today, which is the collar part and the lapel part of our shirt. So, and to achieve that, the first thing we have to do is to get 3 inches front here. 3 inches is already measured here before we draw our basic pattern. So just the way it reflects when I place the back on it. So you can see the 3 inches here. Then we have 6 inches up here. 6 inches is being marked up here. And I rule it. So this is my starting point for this. You can measure 5 inches up. This will be used for the collar part. So now, the first thing we want to do is to get the break points of our shirt. And to achieve that, what you consider is the type of shirt you are making. The one we are making here, we don't need to put on any camisole under. So, and to achieve that, what we do is that we measure 8 inches or 9 inches. So let me use this 9 inches as my break point. So I will just move front from that break point with 1 inch. 1 inch. And that 1 inch is going to be used as my button allowance. So I connect it. I measure the same thing down here. I measure it on this line, move forward with 1 inch. Then I connect. This is going to serve as my button allowance now. So the next thing I will do is that I come to the depth of my neckline. So before I do that, I want you to note that for this side, you are good to do it straight. The owner of this project wants it to have a little bit shape in the waist region. That is why we come in the waist region this way for us to have a little shape. You can use the same measurements you use in the hip line for the bust line and connect it straight. So because this is vintage shirt, it doesn't really need to have shape by the side, but this is the way the owner of this job wants it. So now back to this side, you can see that our neckline here, this is basic neckline, 3 inches by 3 inches. That's what we have here. So on the depth of the neckline now, you now consider how wide you want your lapel to be. So it is lapel we want to form here now. So for this project, I will be making use of 2.5, 2.5 inches as the wideness of my lapel. You can choose to use 2 inches. It's okay. So you can use 3 inches, but for this project, I'm making use of 2.5. So in that wise, I will measure 2.5 forward from this line. So I mark it here. I connect with straight ruler. Just this way. So this is going to serve as the wideness of my lapel now. So the next thing I will do is to connect from here now to this my break point. Yes. So the lapel is forming already. The next thing I'm going to do is to come to this, the width of my neckline. I'll come this side. I want to connect from here now to my break point. So I place my ruler this way. You can see the way I place my ruler. It has to pass through this neckline. You can see that it has shifted. The wideness of our neckline has shifted with quarter of an inch. Ensure that you take care of that in your back pattern again. So that quarter of an inch, you will reconnect it to the depth of your back neckline again. Just this way before you cut out your fabric, so as to blend together. I'll be cutting that out. So the next thing you want to do now is to measure what you are having on the back cut neckline. You place your tape measure this way. Here now we have 4 inches. The seam allowance is not added, so we have 4 inches. To get my 4 inches here now, you want to measure it up. This ruler is the same thing as the tape measure. So you place it this way, ensuring it is aligned with this line. I will measure these 4 inches now. Yes, you can see it goes straight that way. The next thing I'll be doing now, for our collar to be able to sit well on our neckline. We are going to come to the left with half an inch here. Then we connect to this line again. Yes, so the next thing we want to do is to determine how wide we want our collar to be. For this project, we want our collar to be 3.5. You can use 3 inches, you can use 4 inches. So I'll be making use of 3.5. From this point now, where you come out with half an inch, you measure 3.5, just the way you see me placing my tape measure, like angle 90. So don't take it straight like this, just the way you see me placing it. You mark it, so you connect. Then you come to this lapel area again now. When you come to this area, what you want to do now is to come inward with one inch, just this way. Then you come up with 1 inch, just this way. You now connect from this point. Now you connect to this end. So the next thing you want to do is to connect this together now by using your couple this way. So our collar has been formed now. So you can see this is my lapel. By the time we cut it out, it's going to be demonstrated for you. First 1 inch is part of the button allowance. You know, it's going to overlap, button allowance overlapping. So this 1 inch is for it. So the width of my lapel is now 1.5. This is 1 inch for button overlap. So the remaining is 1.5, which is my lapel. So I told you can make yours 1 inch if that's the way you want it. There is no problem, all well and good. So the next thing for us is to add the remaining seam allowance where it is needed now before we cut it out. So we are going to be adding our seam allowance to the shoulder line. Seam allowance of half an inch. Measure it here. Connect it. Yes, then the next thing, we get our half an inch seam allowance at this button allowance region. We get it here as well. We connect. Then you get your seam allowance here. Connect it. Connect it. This is the front pattern. So I am good to cut it out now. And note that the type of shirt we are making is not a fitted type, so no darts at all, no dart of any type. You know, all these different darts, shoulder darts, princess darts, or normal darts, we don't have it in this project. So if you want such, you are good to add it. We have videos on that. So that is it. So the next thing I want to do now is to trim off this so as to match up with the front neckline. So the areas that we need to add our seam allowance when we are cutting out our fabric now is that in this neckline area, this here we add half an inch seam allowance. We are going to do the same thing here. We add half an inch seam allowance. Let me indicate it. Then for the collar, so our collar is going to be on fold here. When you want to cut out your fabric, you are going to fold your fabric, the unfold part. This is the unfold. So all these area half an inch will be added. So that is for the pattern. So this is the lapel. This is the way your lapel is going to be. You can see. This is it, the way it's going to be. Let's move on to the cutting part of now. This is it. I've gone ahead to cut out my fabric. Everything on fold. You can see this is it. On fold, and half an inch has been added to the neckline area of the both the front and the back. We have cut out the collar on fold. You can see. So if you want your collar to have joining at the center back, it means you are going to add seam allowance of half an inch to this side as well. So that is for collar. I cut out 2 of these. This is the second one. The second one, I put interfacing. I use fabric interfacing, which is flexible interfacing, also known as hair stay. That is what I use. I don't want to use paper stay because for this kind of fabric, it's not meant to be too hard, but it has to have strength a bit in that collar part. And this is the facing. Now to get the facing for our shirts, so what we do is that we come to this shoulder line. We measure what we are having there. We are having like 5 inches. You get the midpoint of that 5 inches, which is here. So you come to your chest line here. You measure 2 inches from this line. Measure 2 inches. Come to the hem of your shirt. Measure 2 inches as well from this line. Then you connect it together just this way. You connect from this shoulder line to this chest line just this way. After you have used this one to cut out your fabric, the main fabric, you can just cut it out this way and use this part to cut out your facing, or you can place another paper underneath and trace this line. Then you use that to cut out your facing. So that is for the facing part. And I put flexible interfacing for just lapel area. So that lapel area needs to have strength to some extent. So I put on both sides. But for the main fabric, I didn't put any interfacing. So and another thing I want you to notice is that for the hem parts, we use just half an inch because what we are making is shirts. If you are making notch collar for or jackets, you use like a 1 inch as your hem allowance here. So and another thing you are going to do here, you can as well shape the down part of your shirt by coming up with a 1 to 2 inches. I use 1 inch, then you just connect it this way. After connecting it, you return your hem allowance of half an inch again. Just the way you see me doing. So this is what we are going to cut out. You do the same thing for the back to just shape the hem part of our shirts. And I've cut out my sleeve. This is my sleeve. This is length I'm able to get. That's why I told you to get 2 yard by 60 so that you can have any sleeve of your choice. And for the back cut, for the neckline area, you can cut out the facing. So to get facing for your back, so just mark 2 inches round, or you mark 2.5. You can get 2.5. So get another paper to cut it out. That is what you will use to cut out your fabric to use as facing for your back neckline. But if you don't use facing for back neckline, no problem. So for this project, I will not be making use of facing. That is why this is my collar. I'm folding half an inch and iron very well. That is what I will use to cover my back neckline. So that is for cutting parts. The next thing I want to show you how I'm going to join it together, because I want to go to the machine now and join it together. So let me quickly remove this pattern so I begin to show. So now I've removed the pattern from my fabric. Now this is the back cut. You can see that we didn't open the center back at all. This is my front cut. We have 2 pieces of the front cut. So I want you to see what is expected of you by the time you cut out your fabric. So this is the front cut. This is the collar part. I've removed the pattern. This is how your collar is going to look like. This is the main collar. This is the lining of it. It is the main collar. I gummed the hairstay on. This is for the collar. Here we have our facing. You can see the interfacing is added on the facing, at least up to your break point. This is the break point I've notched here. So this is it. So ensure that the interfacing you are placing must be up to your break points. So this is it, to give it a strength in that area. So the first thing we have to do in joining is to join our shoulder line together, the front and back shoulder line. You join it together with half an inch. You do the same thing to the second side. You join the shoulder line. So that's the first thing to do. Now this is our shirt. I've gone ahead to join the shoulder line together. This is it. Thereafter I join the facing. This is my facing. I join it here. So it comes this way. This is the facing now. You can see the second side is done the same way. So thereafter I get my center back. I get it, I notch it. This is my center back. Then on my collar now, this is my collar. I've gone ahead to join the upper part together. This is the upper part. I join it with the half an inch. I top stitch on the line, you can see. Then I join this side with the half an inch seam allowance. I join both sides together. Then I turn it to the right side and iron very well. I make sure I notch the center of my collar. This is it. I notch the center, both of them. So the next thing we want to do now is to join our collar to the fabric. This is the way our collar is going to be attached. What you first of all do is to get the measurement you are having at this your back neckline. You measure it round, take it this way. You are having roughly 7.5. So that 7.5, you come to the center of your collar. So that 7.5, if you divide it into 2, it will give you 3/4. So you measure 3/4 to this side, mark it. You do the same thing to this side, 3/4, mark it. So having done that, you will now notch it. This which you have notched now, I'm going to fold this in and iron very well. So what we want to do now is to take this. Let the center match together this way. Then you join it together. One, that is the lining. You are joining the lining together. You join it together, come this side, this way. You can just use your pin to hold it at this center where it is being notched. So you join it together to this side as well. So with half an inch. Now, this is it. I've gone ahead to join this part of our collar together with the bodice. So you can see it is the lining of the collar that is joined to the shirt at the back region. So the next thing I did is that I joined the facing. I joined it to the center front. I join it together. I top stitch. You can see I top stitch on the facing from that part to the break point. So when I get to the break point here, I top stitch on the main fabric. You can see, so that by the time our lapel will be ironed, this is the way it's going to be. It will be ironed this way. So by so doing, the top stitching is not sewing on the right side. So the same thing is done to the second side. I did the second side the same way. For the collar part, this remaining part has been held down. I did the same thing here as well. I've attached some light interfacing to the remaining part of my facing. Because of the buttonhole I did that so as to have a strength. The next thing I just want to do now is to put this one now that has been held down in my collar. I will insert it in this neckline region of the front. The facing has been attached to it. This is the facing. I will tuck it in this way, then turn inside to join it together this way. So which means you are joining both the collar and the neckline. From that point where it is notched, you can see this is the notching. So this is the way you are going to sew it down with your 1/2 inch. Ensure that you pin it down so that it will be aligned. It's going to go this way, just like this. So your collar is stopping somewhere around here. So the remaining is part of the lapel. So I'm going to sew down the remaining this way. You know that it is being top stitched here. You consider the way wherever your top stitching face. So that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be like this way. You join it to the end of your lapel. Thereafter you turn it to the right side. I will do the second side the same way. So having done that, you measure your armhole so to cut out your desired sleeve. So I fix my sleeve. After fixing my sleeve, I overlock. Thereafter, I join the side of the sleeve and the side of my shirt. I join it together with that 1/2 inch. Then I overlock again. So I do that for both sides. Thereafter, you hem your down part. So before you hem your down part, ensure that this facing you stitch it down with your front cut. After stitching this down, overlock it, then turn it and hem the down part. So thereafter, you fix your buttonhole. Your buttonhole will be starting from this break point. You mark one buttonhole here. You get like a 3.5 to 4 inches interval to get your buttonhole, maybe just like 4. So, and then you fix your button and your vintage shirt will be ready. So let me go and do that and show you the outcome. Yeah, here we are. We are done with our vintage shirt. You can see how beautiful and elegant it looks. We have gone ahead to do all the needful. The button has been attached. If you do yours straight by the side, you are good to put slits of like 4 to 5 inches. And if you want to place pockets on it, you are good to place your pocket somewhere around here. So that is for that. If you want to know more of how to make your notch jackets, you can register for our online course. We have a corporate wears online class going on now. You can register for that so that you will have more knowledge about this thing. So this is it. You can see the inner part of it, everything neat. This is the finishing part of the collar region by the back neckline. This is how it is neatly done. So I'm very sure you have enjoyed this video. Share this video with your friends. Drop your comments on the comment section. Like this video. And if you are yet to subscribe, do well to subscribe today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.